All right, so should be live. Hopefully, all of my audio is okay. It has been quite some time since I last did a live stream, and in November, I will be in Japan. I'll be going to Tokyo for a show with Timothy Lim and Mark Pellegrini. Iconic Comics will be representing at Japan Comic Art Expo Winter 2025. So, if you want to know where I've been for quite a while, part of it is because I'm getting ready for the Japan show and I got stuff to do with that, which I'll talk about today. I had a wedding to go to, so I've been traveling quite a bit. I was in Colorado for a bit, catching up with some family and friends and relatives and all that sort of stuff. And working on Soul Finder stuff. Could talk about that, but I wanted to make sure I talked about the Common America 11 and Black Ops 7 campaign at least one more time before Japan, since I don't usually stream too much these days. I do want to actually do videos every once in a while, but again, I've just been sidetracked. Let's see, Time Warriors Saga. Thanks for tuning in. All right, a Dougcast. Yeah, I figured I would just catch up with everybody and see what's going on with you and let you know what's going on my end. And we'll just go down the list. So I figured what I would do here is just bring up my feed and we'll just work our way down. So I don't even know when the last time I streamed was. It's probably like been at least a month or more. And I don't even know. I can't remember. It was like Phil Diaz asked if I would share his campaign. He sent me the link or whatever. And I was like, yeah, man, next time I stream, I'll mention it. I don't even know if his campaign's even live anymore, but I just haven't streamed in that long. So I apologize to Mr. Diaz if the last time I streamed was before your campaign and now it's now. But I did remember. I kept my word. I said I would mention it. So if it's in demand or whatever they got going on with crowdfunding these days, I'm not on the Indiegogo stuff. I know that they updated the Indiegogo platform. That changed as well. So could talk about that a little bit. There's been changes to that. So I don't know if in demand still exists or it doesn't exist. The only thing that I know is now they show unique backers. And so that's been a topic of discussion around my Twitter feed shows up. So happy to talk about that sort of stuff. Nick is here. Congratulations on all the success. Japan should be awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I was told yesterday that my the translated books are printed and they should be sent out today, most likely with a tracking number. So they should be printed, but my thing is you never know. You could get the books in something weird. They could have they chopped it off at the wrong, dimensions a little bit. If they took like a couple centimeters off, they could, who knows what. So I was like, I need the books with enough time where if something goes wrong, I can get them reprinted. But I need them with enough advance notice. So I should get my books probably like next Wednesday or Thursday or something. And then if there's anything wrong, let's hope, God forbid, then I would have time to get them reprinted again and whatever. So, and in a worst case scenario, I got the English books. It's Timothy Lim's art with it. Everyone who's going to be there, for the most part, the vast majority of them that are coming to the Iconic Comics booth, no secret, Common America is huge and growing in indie comics over in Japan or whatever. So I was like, even in a worst case scenario, if I didn't get this printed in time, it's Tim's art. They're going to want Tim's art. So anyway, so there was a couple of readers that they were kind enough to make sure my translations were up to speed, and I got that all done. And Tim helped me out with some stuff and got it off to the printer, and so we're good to go. And I'll probably bring plushies. I want to bring some gifts for people that help do translations and all of that sort of thing, and little quote unquote Doug prizes. And so just looking forward to it and very grateful to be able to be at a show with Tim and Mark overseas. So that's cool. If you would have told me years ago, like, 2018, 2019, that I would be flying into Tokyo and meeting up with Tim and Mark and we'd all be doing a show together, I'd been like, well, that seems pretty ambitious. I don't know. You never know. But, well, here we go. So very cool. Let's see. Time Warrior last stream was 2 months ago. Yeah, where does the time go? Where time is flying. But the thing was, is I don't know. There was like nothing really for me to say. I don't really cover the politics as much anymore, which I can today. But it's just like if I don't have anything really to say, or if I can't add to the conversation, if I'm just repeating what everybody else has said, I'm like, that's kind of lame. So I might as well just like kind of let some stories build up and ruminate on things and kind of think about them and let the dust settle on some stories and all of that sort of thing. And then maybe I'll have an angle that's actually worth talking about instead of just like immediately firing up a live stream. You got to hear what I got to say. Like, it's just like, no, they don't need to hear what I got to say. So I'm on Twitter. If people want to hear, what I think about things, then our X, you can go to X and catch me there. So let's see. They made Indiegogo very transparent and much more backer friendly, says Nick. You can see how some would have issues with that. Yeah, so my thing is if Indiegogo shows the unique backers now, like in the past, what they used to do is if, say someone backed the book and then they came back and they got like merchandise and they're like, oh, I actually wanted like a plushie too. Whatever, who knows? Or maybe they were just like, I want to back again to support this person or whatever. They didn't count unique backers. So, it might show 200 backers, but in reality, it was just 150 or something like that. Unique backers, which, typically wouldn't be that big of a deal. But there are obviously creators out there that like want to project as if they are like the end all be all of indie comics. And so when you make numbers, a key piece of your popularity influence bubble or whatever you want to call it, well, then this sort of thing is going to be news. If you're not making the actual stories and the actual art, the driving factor in terms of, promoting it and, people talking about the stories and reviewing the books and doing deep dives into the characters and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so then people are going to be interested about the unique backers. And so for me, what the most interesting thing to me, which I don't have the time to like really do deep, like I don't care enough to do like super deep dives into all of this, but in the past, you could kind of like look at some campaigns and you're just like, okay, wait, it looks like the average person is spending like, an outrageous amount per backing on this book. Like something is fishy. It's not passing the smell test on my end when it's like the books cost, we'll just say like $35 or whatever, or like maybe it's $50 with shipping. But then you're like looking at the math and you're just like, but it looks like the average backer was, I'm exaggerating obviously, but like the average backer is like spending like $250. Like what is going on around here? Like I feel like there's some shenanigans afoot. And so now that's the thing is, on Indiegogo, you can see 180 backers. And on Kickstarter for Common America Volume 11 and Black Ops 7, you can see 1,651 backers for a total of $150,343 with 28 days to go. So it's just, to me, you can't go wrong with transparency and accountability and all of that sort of thing. And if you see creators that are like bent out of shape about it, you're like, why does transparency seem to bother you? Why does accountability seem to bother you? I don't really understand. Like, the only people that would get really kind of agitated at transparency are people that like the shadows or something like that. So very interesting, very interesting. Tillium29, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Tillium, I know you recently were reviewing Black Tide, if I'm not mistaken. So if people get a chance, you can check out Tillium's YouTube channel. He's got some stuff on Black Tide there and all sorts of other comic book reviews. Similarly, Legend Fiction recently had me on to talk about Soul Finder and Iconic Comics. So just check out Legend Fiction. They actually had an online convention as well, Legend Haven. And there was actually a few people that they showed up for an Ask Me Anything, and they were really awesome and really cool, and I really appreciated it. And I got to send out some Doug prizes yesterday. There was one guy who really liked Eric Canetti's art, and so I made sure to send him Noctis Terrari, which Eric Canetti was the artist on, the short story, the Soul Finder short story. And then there was a nice woman who she asked all sorts of nice questions, and I told her if she wanted a Doug prize, I would send a Doug prize out to her. So I sent her Demons Match, and I think I sent I may have sent her a pin. I'm not sure. So anyway, so check out the Legend Fiction stream. This was actually pretty good. Dominic is a very nice guy, and he asked very good questions. He puts it together, he edits it, and there's little like jump cuts, and he does, I don't know, aesthetically, he does a little thing to make it like it flow, I guess. So check that out if you get a chance, and appreciate it. So also, if you haven't had a chance to check out the Seraphim plushies, the Cairo mugs, and all of that. Oh, actually, I just got new Soul Finder rosaries in, the St. Michael rosaries. Not the Memento Mori ones, but the actual like St. Michael ones. So Iconic Comics will be updating their website in the very near future with those. I'll see if I could get them. I mailed them out yesterday, so I might just tell them to like put it live for Halloween. And then that way, if anyone wants to order on Halloween, maybe I'll like, I don't know. I can't for sure say I'll do this, but like maybe if there was like a Halloween thing, you know, Halloween's all about the ghosts and the goblins and the darkness. So maybe if you wanted to counter that a little bit with a rosary, maybe I could have some sort of like promo code for Halloween. I don't know. We'll see. But regardless, the St. Michael rosaries will be up on the website in the very near future. So let's see. I mentioned that yesterday, was it? Yep. So $4,000 roughly of rosary showed up the other day on my porch, and I'll probably bring some of those to Japan as well. And was gonna say, like I said, I mailed those to Texas, and I always keep a small stash for myself for people that like individually either want me to mail them to them or for Doug prizes. Let's see. Whispers here says, hey yo, appreciate it. I can see a few CG upset at the changes. Talking about Indiegogo. Yeah, we'll talk about, actually, you know what? We will talk about that a little bit. Our old buddy. So I was informed that once again last night, I guess Ethan was ranting and raving about John Delarose, but like within the context of that, he was also bringing up this angel investor line that all of these like CG guys have like said that like the Soul Finder books are funded by angel investors. So at any time he says angel investor, these CG guys go around and then they start saying how Iconic Comics is funded by angel investors and I needed angel investors. And actually, like not too long ago, they were saying Timothy Lim was also reliant upon an angel investor and all this sort of stuff. So, you know, they continue to do this like weird thing where it's like, oh, you're going to do a live stream. And he was sitting there saying how like John Delarose is dishonest and blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, he's disseminating the angel investor lie. It's like literally a lie. So he's just like, yeah, John De La Rose is a liar. Oh, by the way, there's a lot of people that have angel investors out there, blah, blah, blah. Wink, wink, Iconic Comics, wink, wink, wink. So it's like you're complaining about someone being dishonest while literally lying about Iconic Comics. So it's just like, okay, yeah. So that was interesting. That continues to be brought up, and I will show the receipts on that as well. We could just continue to go down the list. But I did think that was very interesting. Let's see. Got a lot of people in the chat here. Alex, Japan trip coming up. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Man, I can't actually be here for the stream and not watch later. So blah, blah. Let's see. AL is here. Thanks for tuning in. Tillium says, had some Soul Finder reviews go up earlier this week. More next week. Oh, appreciate it, man. Let's see. AL, I'm disillusioned with both Indiegogo and Kickstarter. I'd rather just buy straight from the creator's website. Yeah, so that's the other thing is like, oh, with the Indiegogo thing, now y'all these people saying like, oh, we're gonna start like our own website and blah 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 blah, and you're like, oh, that's so funny because years ago, when Tim and I would talk about that kind of stuff, people like it was like that was like a stupid idea, like, oh, there's always the crowdfunding platforms. Why would you do your own website? Blah 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 blah. And so the idea was years ago. Like at the inception of Iconic Comics is that we would essentially make ourselves bulletproof by having a place where we can sell our books and our merchandise and all of that. So if Kickstarter or Indiegogo got bizarre or people for whatever reason, like, you know, pushed Tim or Mark or me or anybody else like off their platform, then we would be able to just boom, overnight, turn the Iconic Comic website into a crowdfunding platform and just run it straight from there. So that was years ago, like literally, 2019, talking about this sort of stuff. And all these guys, you know, the smartest guys in the room, in every single room, you know, like, no, pat, myself, pat Tim on the head. Oh, you guys are so cute. You guys are so cute. Oh, you wish you knew you were talking about. Yeah, you just go back into the little kids table. All right, the big boys from DC Comics and Marvel are going to do their thing now. Okay, pat you on the head. Fast forward 2025, going into 2026, and now it's like, oh crap, Indiegogo. We got to make our own websites now. So yeah, you're only 6 years late to the party, dudes. So very interesting. Let's see what else. Let's see. Do CG guys actually think for themselves, or do they always follow what Uncle E says? Yeah, no, it's very interesting. CG are salty. They're being held accountable for their actions. Richard must be seething. Richard's another one. Like, I try not to say too much about that guy, but like, on a regular basis, it's weird because YouTube, his stuff will come up in my feed still. And it's like, I don't want to block the guy per se, but it's just like every day he is just ranting about Wes from Thinking Critical and Eric July. And I saw one of his videos. I was like, let me see what this guy is up to. And he was saying that Eric July is just lucky. And if you watch my streams for any amount of time, you know that I cannot stand it when people say, you're just lucky. You're just lucky. Like, oh man. Like, even if you do not like Rippaverse Comics, even if you do not like Eric July, the idea that you could get that number of books out at that volume, at that scale, for that long without having any sort of like major, you know, super bizarro hiccups in terms of like fulfillment and distribution and all that sort of stuff. It's not luck. Like, it's literally not luck. Anybody who's been in indie comics for any amount of time doing these books knows that to get from point A to point Z to actually get the books done and printed and colored and inked and lettered and, basically get as many typos out as possible. But even if you have 5 sets of eyes on it, there's always going to be some little thing that slips through the crack here or there, whatever. The finances involved, the negotiations. I can just keep going down the list of all the moving parts that are involved with getting books out to your readers. And the idea that he would be able to do what he's done for years now, when all these people said that he was going to be out of business and like he was going bankrupt and blah, 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 and he was circling the drain and yada, yada, yada. The idea that you would say that that guy is lucky is so incredibly insulting. And this is personal to me as well, because over the course of my life, I've had plenty of people say that I was just lucky, that the stars just aligned, that I just happened to sneak in the door at the right time, at the right place, and yada, yada, yada. Now, I will say that God has been instrumental in putting certain people in my life at key moments in time. And thank God I had my eyes open enough and my ears open enough to be able to see the people that God was placing in my life. That is true. God does place people in your life for a reason. Both the people that hate you and the people that show an affinity for you or a willingness to work with you. Again, God, it's no accident that Timothy Lim was brought into my life. There is some reason. If there's 8 billion people on the planet, over the course of your life, you're only going to meet a tiny little sliver of a sliver of a sliver of a sliver of people where you actually have like really meaningful conversations with them. And it's like clear that there's something. The people that you meet in your life and you are interacting with them, when you think about the billions of people out there that you will never meet, that you will never know, you will know nothing about their life, it means that if you are interacting with someone, when I'm talking to Tillium right now and Rob Curro and War Campaign right now and Student of God and all of you, like for whatever reason, we were put into each other's life. I'm beaming messages to you and hopefully they're good, but maybe they're bad. Maybe if I'm completely rampant and detached from reality, maybe what you're hearing from me right now is what you're not supposed to not do. But again, I'm biased, but I try to discern the right thing to do and the good thing to do, and then try to follow what the good thing to do is. And over the course of my life, again, things have tended to work out. I've had a vision for something, and then reality keeps lining up with my vision. So I seem to be doing something right, but I guess the people that hate me would be like, that's because Douglas Ernst is of the devil. He's of the world, the prince of darkness, or something like that. But again, these are things that you have to decide for yourself, if I am misleading you or not. Anyway, back to the point. Like, I'm trying my best. Like, I don't want to make a video on like Richard doing a complete 180 on all of his stances and like deleting like hundreds, if not thousands of videos, and then like taking the exact opposite stance and then pretending as if he never took the exact opposite stance, and that all the things that he's criticizing Wes for, that like he never said anything remotely like that. Like, come on now, dude. Like, and then, here's another one. We're just gonna like keep going, and maybe you'll see this. Richard, hi, dude. Hey, I saw your video where you were like, yeah, it just turns out that after 8 to 10 months, everybody agrees with me on Eric July in West from Thinking Critical. Well, guess what, dude? If you always block everybody who disagrees with you over the course of 8 to 10 months, within 8 to 10 months, if you're losing thousands of subscribers, then it will appear as if everybody in your little echo chamber agrees with you. Do you see how that works? Like, you could lie to yourself all you want, but the fact is it's very open. Everybody knows this, is you have been shadow banning and blocking everybody on like who remotely disagrees with you and pushes back against you. And so, of course, yeah, your little YouTube comment section appears as though everybody agrees with you and they came around to your thinking. Or maybe if you're being honest with yourself, if you're not lying to yourself, it could be like, no, I blocked everybody and I just built my own little echo chamber where I can rant and rave about Eric July and Wes from Thinking Critical and then convince myself that I'm just like a genius or something along those lines. It's so embarrassing. I feel bad for the guy. I seriously, like, it's like you don't want to, how do I say this? I don't want to dunk on Richard for the sake of dunking on him, but it really kind of, the thing I was telling somebody last night, the thing that really irritates me is the deletion of basically his entire library going back years. So people can't compare what he's saying now to what he said years ago. And then just pretending as if he's always been this guy who's saying what he's currently saying, and that he's not essentially guilty of massive, gargantuan, Jupiter-sized planet hypocrisy. Like, it's like, that's the thing. If you didn't delete your entire channel and then just like flip into this guy who's like now like every single day ranting about conservatives and like middle-aged Republicans and like he's the artiste out there, like I am such an artist and everybody who like doesn't agree with me is just putting out schlock. And then he's got the nerve to say like conservatives should be like ousted and blacklisted from the arts. Like, you sound exactly like Mags Visaggio from a couple years ago. You sound exactly like Mark Wade. You sound exactly like Heather Antos. But again, you deleted all of your videos, so we can't juxtapose them and put them in nice little things. Like, you know, people talk about documentaries. Elasmat was doing those documentaries. Elasmat, if you're out there, again, maybe I shouldn't even say this, but when is somebody going to do the definitive Richard C. Meyer documentary juxtaposing the conservative Republican Richard from years ago with what he's become today, and like just show the cognitive dissonance between the two? Because it's like, dude, and I wouldn't mind, but Wes has only been nice to the guy for years. Eric July never said anything. And then he was like, years ago, he was just like, my favorite YouTube universe, or not YouTube, comic book universe that I didn't make is Eric July's. And then it's like, dude, man, he's like constantly trying to professionally kneecap Chuck Dixon and Brett R. Smith, who are now working for Eric July. He goes out of his way to go, like, it's like, okay, Chuck Dixon is great when he's working with Richard, but then if he works with Eric July, then Eric July just puts out like, just like allegedly, you know, in Richard's mind, just crap. Brett R. Smith is great when he's doing the color work for Richard's books, but when he's doing the color work for the Rippaverse books, then, you know, like, oh, Eric July across the board, he's just putting out crap and he's like the worst guy and conservatives shouldn't even be in the arts and all of this, blah, 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 blah. Never mind that it's conservatives historically that, you know, understood the good, the true, and the beautiful, actually trying within art to capture the good, the true, and the beautiful. In fact, it was Richard years ago in a video that apparently is now deleted, where he talked about my video on the death of beauty. Again, guys that are religious, guys that believe in God, practicing Christian men, myself, a practicing Christian, a Catholic man. Like, you understand the search for truth and beauty and in art, okay? So I could just keep going on and on and on. Like, it's just like, dude, like, I wish that video was still up so then we could just compare it. It's like, I don't know. The idea that you would just like go off and act as if like all conservatives have no place in the arts whatsoever because you have some like bizarro petty feud with Eric July where you're just going after him day after day after day after day after day. If you call Eric July this massive loser, but then you hyper focus on him for months and months and months and months on end, wouldn't that make you a bigger loser? Wouldn't that make you more pathetic? Wouldn't that make you more embarrassing? I mean, especially when you have like how many campaigns that are outstanding and they're like, oh, great art. Now it's the great art takes time sort of thing. Never mind the fact that we can go through comic book history of the great art that was all met upon deadlines. The greatest comic book runs of all time all involved some sort of deadline where people weren't missing their deadlines by like 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 years, like going on a decade. Like it doesn't even, again, like anybody who's remotely objective, if you hear what I think that's another reason why I just feel so bad is because he's completely detached from reality and just thinks that what he's saying is sane. It's not really sane, dude. You actually are just coming across as completely like off the rails and rampant. And it just feels like he has a thing against how do I say it? Deep down, he on multiple levels, he screwed up what he had going for himself in 2019. And instead of just looking in the mirror and taking accountability for all the various ways that he dropped the ball, he's decided he's just going to go scorched earth on everybody who supported him over the years. Whether, like, if you don't like Wes, just ignore Wes. If you don't like Eric July, you could just ignore Eric July. You don't need to do daily posts. Like, it's anyway, I got off on a tangent there, but it's just like it's like this pent up sort of stuff where when I see it in my feed, whether it's on X or I come to YouTube or whatever, and it's like, for you, check out blah 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 or whatever. They have shorts and all this sort of other stuff, and I see like Richard popping up saying like conservatives have no place in the arts. It's just like, you know what? It's like kind of screw you, dude. Like, you don't even know what you're talking. You literally again sound exactly like Mags Basaggio, Joe Glass, all the guys. Oh, that's the other thing is like Wes he's stuck in 2019. He's just covering the same stuff over and over again. Oh, by the way, I still hate Mags Basaggio and Joe Glass. Blah 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 blah. It's like you're literally still covering the same exact people from 6 years ago while saying that Wes is in some time warp. When literally, before I turned on this live stream, they were showing one of the new, like the new Batman book with the, like Batman's, essentially body slamming a police officer. This isn't the commission that was done. I think it's like actually going to be in the, like, on multiple levels. You can go and look at the industry and all of the same people that he was complaining about years ago and what they're doing, like they're still doing it. It's relevant to the discussion. So it's like, you can't say that it's not an issue that's like off limits. I can't talk about, like, nobody is allowed to talk about it. No one's allowed to talk about like bizarro, the DC writers who are celebrating Charlie Kirk and what his assassination. I don't know if YouTube's algorithm is going to get me or whatever, but it's just like, that's relevant to the industry. I hate to tell you, Richard, if a writer for a DC book comes out and it's like a Batman book or whatever, or a major book or whatever, and they're like doing rhetorical jumping jacks and cartwheels and all this sort of stuff over a political assassination, I feel like maybe Wes is allowed to talk about that and shouldn't have to be like called a bad person or out of touch or whatever. It's like the weirdest stuff. Pan, thanks for tuning in. Zach blowing off an appearance on Joe Rogan to get dunked on by leftists at Comedy Central was a huge missed opportunity. Yeah, I talked about that in a previous live stream like years ago. he was like, Joe Rogan invited me onto the show. And I was like, you got to do it, dude. And he's like, no, I just told him that I was moving that day. And then I was like, what are you talking about? Go get you need to contact the producer right now and tell them that you're going to go on the show. Like, I don't even know if you'll get typically you're not going to get a second chance with these people. You got like one shot. Yeah, one shot, one opportunity, mom spaghetti. Joe Rogan comes to you and wants you to come on the show, and you're like, I'm going to move. And this is like after he had already moved like 5 times within the span of like 18 months or something. So I was like, dude, no, you got to go on the show. Like, contact the producers. Like, you can move any other day of the week. You can put your move off for like, what are you doing, dude? So, and maybe he has like social anxiety. I don't know, but just at least be honest with it. Like, if you were scared or something, just say like, you know what? I'm actually scared. I think I might throw up on the Joe Rogan show if I knew that millions of people were going to be watching me. Like, I could at least respect that. I could be like, okay, like, fine. I'm not going to go and dunk on you in public because you said you have social anxiety. But then it's like, but then you, again, as Pan just said, but then you're going to go on the Comedy Central thing where they're just going to like manipulate you. And like, it was so weird. Like, these are the things where it's just like, you're bashing your head up against the wall with somebody and you're like, this guy actually thinks that he's the rational one in the room. It's like, okay, dude, whatever, go on Comedy Central. Same thing with the lawsuit. I said that like the last stream that I was on, where it was just like, I told the guy, I was like, you've won in the court of public opinion. You don't need to do a lawsuit. Like, don't make an emotional decision, because lawyers are the ones that benefit from lawsuits. You're going to spend a lot of money, and for the most part, the lawyers are going to be the ones that benefit. Like, you're not really going to benefit. So, but of course he did the lawsuit. So then I was like, dude, like, I'll do my best to support your decision or whatever, but so anyway, and then obviously, that's the other thing. So this is the guy. It's just like so many people rallied to this guy's defense and they raised money for him. And now that he's like mad at them or whatever, he's just going to go after them. To me, if I was involved in a lawsuit where I needed to raise over $100,000 and then I backed out of said lawsuit or waved the white flag or however you want to talk about the settlement and ran away from it all, the people who were there for me when I was at my lowest point, even if I decided I don't like those people anymore, I'm just going to shut up and walk away and say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like Wes was there for you when you were at your lowest point. And then even after Richard initially started going after Wes was just like, dude, I just feel bad for the guy. Basically what I'm saying right now is just like, I just feel bad for the guy. Cut him some slack, like, whatever. I hope he gets into a better place, like, mentally or whatever. So even then, and then Wes and Eric have both ignored him. And he's just coming across as this, like, deranged meth head in a cardboard box ranting about Eric July and Wes. It really is sad. Richard, if you're watching, if you're still listening, I'm not trying to be mean here. This is like a pseudo intervention. Like, you blocked everybody, you made an echo chamber for yourself, and you're filled with like people that they don't have your best interest in mind. And actually, going back to the lawsuit years ago, I told Richard specifically, I said, the people that are hardcore pushing you into this lawsuit right now, they do not have your best interest in mind, long-term interest. They only care about YouTube clicks. They care about like using your pain for their content. They're interested in using your chaos for their content, their subscriber count. That's what I tried to tell this guy years ago. And of course, again, he did the lawsuit. So same thing right now. Richard, the people right now that you've created your little bubble around, your little echo chamber around, they don't have your long-term interest in mind. It is not healthy to focus 24 hours a day on Eric July and Wes from Thinking Critical. Even if you really don't like them, the weirdo dopamine hits you're getting from just constantly finding ways to just rant and rave about them, it is not good for your health. It's actually really bad. And you're probably, whether you know it or not, in a downward psychological spiral as we speak. But the good news is you could always decide, because you got free will, to just stop doing that and reverse course and focus on yourself. Look in the mirror, dude. Take accountability for your actions. Take accountability for your multiple failures. We all have failures in life, and we have to own up to them. And it's better if we do that. But I digress. Mr. Grohovac, thanks for tuning in. Doug is yelling. Zach, yeah. Does he think he is owning the chuds? I don't know. It's just, again, my main thing was the dude deleted his entire library so he can pretend that he is one thing when he was the exact opposite just a couple years ago. So very interesting. So Gavin Newsom, we could always talk about Gavin at some point in time. Oh, here we go. So speaking of all this sort of stuff, here, this is sort of related to this. So it's the psychology hour today. So Richard, if you're paying attention, you could use this too. My advice for young creators who want to learn how to waltz through social minefields: understand that most people, consciously or unconsciously, wear Hollywood-grade persona, prosthetics, and makeup. If you do the hard work of examining the makeup you've caked on over decades, if you psychologically strip away everything that is fake to see what remains when you are laid bare, you will soon be able to identify and understand the costumes worn by those around you. People get uncomfortable when they know you can truthfully say, I can see right through you. They tend not to mess with you. Similarly, when you understand that most of the unfair jabs that come your way originate from a persona, there will be no need to get angry. In most instances, you should feel sorry for a person who is lost in a persona because they're unwilling or too afraid to face who they really are beneath it all. So years ago, Richard had a persona where he was the everyman Republican shabba-shabba-doo, and he was going to call out Mags Visaggio and Joe Glass and Heather Antos and all of those people and blah, 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 blah. All right? So now he wiped the slate clean because he didn't like that persona. So now he needs a new persona. The new persona is, oh, I'm the artiste. And all those conservatives that I had built my channel around are actually really bad people. You see how it's just a persona? It's just different makeup that somebody is putting on. And then he's going to go after Wes from Thinking Critical. And then he's going to go after Eric. So it's like, what are the aspects of himself that he's not trying to face that he's projecting his own inner insecurities and hatred onto Wes, onto Eric. Eric created a company and did all of the things he was supposed to do in order to maintain and build that company. And you can say all you want that, oh, he used to have 40,000 backers, but now he only has thousands of backers and blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is back in the day when he first blew up, it was a completely different landscape. It was a completely different economy. He had Fox News and all sorts of conservative media outlets all simultaneously pushing him at one point in time. And even the indie comic space on the right and the libertarians, and like they were all basically not completely fractured. We'll just put it that way. So they were all on the same page. And then you have like the curiosity factor of like other people. There were probably like a good number of people that were on the left who were backing as well. So it was like this perfect storm. And anytime that you have Fox News and these really big outlets, you know, whether it's like they're pushing you, you're going to get a lot of backers that aren't necessarily like organically comic guys. So it's like eventually it's going to settle into what it's going to settle down to. And if you have somebody that's selling literally like thousands of comics per campaign. Like, anyway, the point is you can tell that Richard had personas that he swapped out over the years now, and that he is projecting all of his own sort of like insecurities and hatreds that he doesn't want to face within himself onto people that are doing the things that he wishes that he can do. Wes is actually getting, like, he gets really good interviews with people within the industry. His channel is doing just fine. So again, you could decide that you don't like Wes or whatever, but the normal response to it would be like, to maybe like randomly here or there be like, I don't really like Wes. Okay. And then you go on about your day, and then you like focus on your own thing. But what you don't do is day after day after day after day after day, like focus on this guy who like never even acknowledges your existence. It's really weird. So he says, yeah, let's see. Student of God. Zach is the birthday party clown. I mean, it is clownish to delete your entire library of all the content where you said exactly the, maybe not verbatim, but almost verbatim. All the things that you're saying now are ridiculous in other people is what you just said a couple years ago. So, I mean, at least own up to it, and just, I don't know. It's very weird. Let's see. All right, we continue to go down the list here. Again, Richard, if you're watching, I know in the past you said that I took passive aggressive jabs at you. This is me talking directly to you. Again, I feel sorry for you. What you're doing is not healthy. It really isn't. What you really should do is you should go and do a social media fast. You should log off for like 3 months and just focus on all the things that you need to focus on. The books that are behind, whatever financial stuff's going on. I don't know. Who knows what else is going on in the guy's life? But he clearly is distracting himself from real issues that need to be addressed. Because I promise you that Wes's weekend live streams and Eric July's little clips, promotional clips, is really not a good use of time. And it's especially if you're spending like days and days and days and months and months and months on it. It's very weird. All right. All right. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, going down the list, seeing out what else we got here going on. Like I said, I got the new rosaries. Got Mark Pellegrini. And the what was that? The USS Alabama. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Wasn't his birthday the other day? I think he's 65 years old. Happy birthday, October 18th to JCVD. Bloodsport. All right, speaking of people that focus on things they shouldn't have. So, yeah, our old buddy Vaughn, not too long ago. Where was it? All right, Vaughn. Ernst wouldn't be anywhere near comics without being on the coattails of his friends. Hey, Vaughn is the guy who called me the fake Christian not too long ago. For the past like couple years, he's been going after Iconic Comics and Eric July and all this sort of stuff. And it's funny. You got me, Vaughn. I have friends. Yay! And it's also interesting that 2018 Comicsgate, they were the ones that wanted me to throw Timothy Lim and Mark Pellegrini under the bus when Tim was the villain of the week or whatever it was, the flavor of the week villain. And they didn't want me. Comicsgate in 2018, 2019, when Ethan started going after Timothy Lim, hey, you got to throw, privately, you can't be working with Timothy Lim, man. You're not going to make any money if you work with Timothy Lim. That's as bad news bears to be associated with Timothy Lim. If you're close to Comicsgate, Yeah, Uncle Lee said Timothy Lim was a bad person, so you can't do that. So I told these guys to pound sand years ago. So fast forward in time now, it's 2025. The same circle of people that wanted me to throw Timothy Lim under the bus when it would have been convenient are now it's, Douglas Ernst is benefiting from his friendship with Timothy Lim. Brr, 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 brr. So very interesting how that works, doesn't it? You wanted me to throw him under the bus, and then I didn't. And then because we went on to, me, Tim, Mark, Eric Canetti, multiple others, kind of all gelled around this vision of iconic comics and started building it up and trying to build the reputation for solid storytelling and solid art fulfilled in a timely manner at a fair price with some sort of semblance of professionalism. Now that all came to pass, well, now you're going to say that that's the only reason. It's essentially what I was talking about earlier with the they just got lucky. It's the cousin of that. It's like Doug Ernst got lucky with iconic comics and Soul Finder and blah, 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 blah. And so what's weird about it on top of everything else is I have never tried to downplay the role that Timothy Lim has played in changing the trajectory of my life. In fact, I have tried very hard to make sure everybody knows that it was Tim who took a chance on Soul Finder years ago when he didn't need to do it. So, and he did. And so Tim took a chance on me, and I didn't throw Tim under the bus, and I didn't throw Mark under the bus when he was found guilty of liking the wrong tweet that upsetted Uncle E. Okay. So yeah, of course we went on to have a good friendship and, business partners and doing things. And we were able to navigate that because historically people that are friends and you're also business partners and stuff like that, that could go sideways really fast. And it hasn't. So similarly, I've gone out of my way to thank Matt Weldon, Eric Canetti, Alejandro Mirabal, Jeff Spokes, who's now at DC. I can just get Stephen Cummings, who is in Japan, and he's going to actually be at the same show with us. Letterers like Bill Williams, colorists Brett R. Smith. I mean, come on, Rodrigo Aviles. So just keep going down the list. Anybody who's ever contributed to Soul Finder, I've tried very hard to give credit where credit is due. But at the end of the day, they're my stories that people have to enjoy and like and come back for. And they have done that. So even in my feed, there's people every single year that they share, they're new to the books and they share their experience with them. So, just like a week ago or whatever it was, there was a guy, Patrick, who he was sharing his review of Soul Finder. We got the Wandering Creative here. He's buying Soul Finder books and he's putting them out for Halloween. So there's, that's, what is it? Catalytic Comics. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce that. They did the same thing last year. I could go on and on. So, very interesting. Let's see, go down. Oh, here we go. So yeah, going back to the angel investor thing. So all these people, so again, last night, our old buddy Ethan had to bring up allegedly the angel investor, line again, which all these guys do, and they attribute it to Iconic Comics. So talking about Eric July and Iconic, 99% of indie creators don't have 200,000 capital on hand for their business like Eric July. Again, go back in time. Eric July, even if he just has $200,000 laying around right now, if you go with the same exact people that were making fun of his old videos where he was obviously not rich, he was growing up somewhere doing dances with his friends like high school kids do or whatever. He started a band. He, had whatever level of success with the band that he's in, blah, 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 blah. He started his YouTube channel. Whether you like the content or not, he built this channel up. And you could just keep going. people don't just get $200,000 out of nowhere. They don't just pull it out of their butt. It doesn't just come like, even if you got an angel investor, you would have had to convince the angel investor that you were worth investing in. So no matter how you slice it, the person did something right. And so again, when you're calling people lucky, like Richard did to Eric, or many people did to me way back in the day, that was something that our old buddy Comic Book Hut said to me. He said something along the lines like, "Oh man, you got like really lucky," or something like that. And I was like, "It wasn't luck, dude. I worked my butt off. Like, what are you talking about?" So I really hate when people say they attribute luck to people that are working their butt off. You want to know where I've been for most of this year? I am so mentally exhausted. I talked about this a little bit on previous streams. I have been trying to financially set the stage, set the financial foundations to do all sorts of cool stuff at Iconic Comics on a 5-year timeline. So I gave myself 5 years to raise the capital that I need to be able to do animation, to possibly do like, basically anything that I want to do revolving around Soul Finder. I have been working privately. I don't announce everything on social media. I'll either fall on my face or I will succeed. But I have been working my butt off to try and set the stage to accomplish this 5-year plan. So if I am successful, it will just appear that, ooh, Doug Ertz must have got a new angel investor, because why is he suddenly doing Soul Finder animation? Why is he suddenly doing like, I don't know, statues and figures, and he's not crowdfunding any of this stuff? Where is all that money coming from? Well, back in the day, it was Ethan who tried to tell people that I was funded by secret Chinese, dark money, the Chinese mafia or whatever. So no, I've been privately working my butt off. So when you attribute my success to luck, it really kind of sticks in my craw. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't see all the long hours. You didn't see the risk. Oh, speaking of risk, we can continue on with these people. So they got the angel investor stuff. And then you got the people. Well, yeah, here we go. Eric July and Iconic are both LARPing as grassroots indies when they aren't, and use the culture war as profit. So here's another one. We'll eventually get to the mortgage line as well. So this is what these guys do. They listen to Ethan's stream where he talks about angel investors and all of this sort of stuff. And then they, like, little cockroaches or whatever you want to call them, crawl out into social media, and then they carry that message forth, no matter how dishonest it is, and say stuff like that. So here's the thing is, when do you see me, since I left the newspaper years ago, there were people that would call me a fake, quote unquote, fake conservative, because I wasn't this like firebrand culture warrior guy that was going off at, like, left and right on every single issue under the sun. When I worked at the newspaper, I wrote stories for the newspaper, and I had an editor who wanted me to write stories and bring in traffic. And I tried to actually find stories with substance that would simultaneously bring in a lot of traffic. And I was very good at that. That's not me tooting my own horn. That's just a fact. Me and my coworker, who ultimately ended up going to Fox News Digital, were very, very good at that. And so, but when I left the newspaper, I almost exclusively focused on comics. Am I a conservative guy? Yes. Am I wearing a Richard C. Meyer persona where suddenly, you might wake up tomorrow and I'm going to be bashing conservatives and Republicans or something like that? No, I'm a conservative guy. I admit it. So, but unlike Richard, you're not going to see me tomorrow being like, oh, Richard, conservatives, they should just be blacklisted from the arts. We got to get the conservatives out of the art. They don't even know what they're talking about. Blah, 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 blah. No, I'm a conservative guy but I'm not this sort of like loose cannon, Molotov cocktail throwing conservative guy at all. Am I a practicing Catholic? Yes. Do I talk about cultural issues? Yes. You could go back to my blog going back to like 2010. I am essentially at my core the same person that I was like in 2010. Now, obviously, some of what how do I say it? Some of my stances have become more nuanced over time, but my core has remained the same. And you can go back 2010, 2015, 2020, 2025, and you're like, yeah, this is actually a very stable guy, and he understands why he believes what he believes. So, oh, that was the other thing, is Richard, not too long ago, he was talking about Thomas Sowell. He didn't know who Thomas Sowell was, and he was like bashing Eric. It was something along the lines, I don't know if Eric cited Thomas Sowell, who's one of the greatest economists of all times. He's an intellectual giant. He's a living intellectual giant of economics. Wrote the book, literally wrote the book, Basic Economics, a classic. Changed the course of my life. So you had Richard for years who was like portraying himself as this like Republican guy who understood the issues and all this sort of stuff. He didn't even know who Thomas Sowell was. And it's just like, and I'm sure Richard would be like, oh yeah, Doug, you sound so stupid saying that. No, you presented yourself as one way years ago in a way where you should know who Thomas Sowell was if you really were that guy. But apparently you weren't. So apparently you were just, who knows what, like some sort of chameleon. And you thought at the time that it was beneficial to you to portray yourself as like a Republican guy. And now you've decided for whatever reason that, no, I'm going to go the exact opposite. And I'm just going to present straw man arguments. And then I'm going to fight the straw men. That's what he does all the time. It's like, I don't know. Again, it's embarrassing. Let's see. Need to read that Social Justice Fallacies book of his. Dude, Thomas Sowell. I'm telling you. Read Visions of the Anointed. That's a good one. Basic Economics is a classic. Applied Economics is another one. Yeah, anything by Thomas Sowell is gold, essentially. And way back in the day, I don't even know if it's still up there. There used to be a website called Town Hall. It was a townhall.com. I think it was bought out. I don't know who was bought out, but basically Thomas Sowell's newspaper articles would always appear there like on a weekly basis. And that was another one. They were absolute gold. The guy is brilliant. So I could just go on and on about Thomas Sowell. He changed my life. When I read Basic Economics for the first time, it was like a giant light bulb went off in my head. And then I just consumed everything by him. So the fact that Eric July reads Thomas Sowell, again, no matter whatever you think about his comic books, he knows a good economist when he sees one. And you should probably, that's the thing, you got to give credit where credit is due to somebody. You got to call balls and strikes appropriately and accurately. And so, again, even if you don't like Eric July, I mean, it is ridiculous to just find any little thing that guy does and twist it into some stupid caricature. So you make him into some sort of like bizarro, like demonic figure or something like that. It's so embarrassing, dude. Let's see. Let's keep going on. Where is it? Where's the mortgage? Where's the mortgage? This is another lie that's been like in my feed here and there for years. Did I pass it up? One of these guys. Where is it? Snake Eyes. I know we'll find the mortgage line somewhere. All right. Spy classic cover. This is actually the first comic book that I owned, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta be close. Matt Weldon art. Got the Cairo shirt, hopefully coming soon. I bought that. Thank you to Eagle Deagle for buying the Soul Finder polo shirt. Appreciate that. It's got to be around here. I know there was the mortgage lie somewhere. Please show up. Did I pass it up? One of these guys basically for years now has said that I had to mess with my mortgage in order to fund the Soul Finder books. Here we go. All right, Matt here. Doug told me he remortgaged his house personally. That is a lie. And actually, when I said that this was a lie, he backtracked and he was like, "Oh no!" And then he said it like basically I told it in my public feed. Look anywhere in my feed. I have never said I remortgaged my house. In fact, I was with this guy in a green room in like 2021. I do not even think I was in. Matt Reese has a YouTube channel, and I think it was like 2019 when I was in a green room with him, and I didn't even own a house at the time. So first of all, his timeline isn't even correct. It was a Matt Reese live stream, and I'm pretty sure it was 2019. Maybe the latest it was 2020, and I don't even think I had a house at that time. So anyway, I never messed with my mortgage, and I definitely would not do so after interest rates skyrocketed. So again, if you know anything about the mortgage rates back in the day, I got my mortgage rate when it was like around like 3%, something along those lines. And then after I bought the house, mortgage rates shot up to like, I don't know, what is it, like 8%? They like more than doubled. They went like crazy. So I locked in my mortgage at a low rate. And then after I bought the house, they shot up. So even if I tried to refinance it wouldn't work. The math wouldn't work. I guess you could like find ways to do like, oh, Tom Selleck, reverse mortgage or something. I don't even know. I don't know how all of that stuff works. All I know is when I was in a green room with this guy, I don't even believe I had a house. And so he's just literally making stuff up. This is what these guys do. And I know that Ethan cites this guy as well. So they're all in the same little circles where they just come up with angel investor lies, remortgaging house lies, all sorts of stuff to like try and just chip away at us. Let's see. Ask him. Yeah, ask me again. Since people wanted to ask me, no, I didn't even mess with my house at all. So very interesting. I'm not mad at your gig with Johnny, the president of Iconic. I'm mad at myself for buying into the drama mirage. I don't even know what that means. And I don't think you, as a serious Catholic, have much blame for Johnny's titty covers. Like, that's the other thing. Is like Tim and Mark have so this is like their vector of attack that they have. Is like, I put out Soul Finder, and it's a very specific book with a very specific audience. And they don't like me. So they're going to just create scenarios where I would imagine a situation, if you will. It's 2019. I go into a green room with Matt Reese, and this guy is here. And this is at a time. You know what I did tell this guy? At the time, Ethan and all of them were lying about me, saying that I was trying to like destroy Mitch Breitweiser's what was his comics company? Nuts. I can't even think about it. Red Rooster and whatever his comic company was called. That I was trying to destroy his company, Allegiance Arts. That I was trying to destroy Allegiance Arts. So the thing that I talked with them about was they had questions about that. And so I was like, that's a lie. Like, I don't need to do anything to Mitch. Mitch is perfectly capable of destroying his own company on his own. He does not need my help. So I didn't talk about imagine you just meet someone for the first time. You would be like, oh, hello, Matt. Nice to meet you. By the way, I'm drowning in debt and I need to refinance my house, my mortgage, or something like that. Like, does that even make any sense? Like, who would even say that? The only thing that I did say is that I took on a lot of risk with Black Tide, and actually all my books, because I try my best to pay all of my artists better than Marvel and DC. And I tried my best to pay all of my colorists, the letterer, everybody involved with Soul Finder. I want to pay them better than Marvel and DC. So if you do that, you're going to, if you're trying to get the best talent you can, you're going to spend more money. And then I could have just done softcover books, but then I did hardcover editions that showcased Matt's art. So you have the regular stories, and then after the story, I had all of Matt's inks behind it. I bought tens of thousands of dollars worth of hardcover books because the risk and the bet was, the risk was that they wouldn't sell. But the bet on myself was that I was in comics for the long haul, and that I was going to do more books, and that I would be around long enough to sell all of the hardcover books that I created. And that indeed turned out to be the case. So anyway, what these guys like to do is they do this thing where they try and drive wedges between me and Tim and Mark. Again, they all tried to do it in 2018 and 2019 when they were telling me not to work with Tim. And now in 2025, they're still doing it because they're like, oh, Doug Ernst is a practicing Catholic, but he's friends with Timothy Lim. And look, there's breasts. There's very large breasts on the covers of Common America. And if Doug was truly a practicing Catholic, if he was devoted to his faith, then he would make sure that he would say something about Timothy Lim and all those breasts. Carly has such big breasts. How can you stand that, Doug? It's not going to work. So, again, they're upset because years ago, all of these guys wanted me to throw Tim and Mark under the bus. Didn't do it. And Common America blew up in Japan, and it's doing really well. Bring it up. $150,000 or whatever it is. And they were the ones that burned bridges years ago. They were all betting on Uncle E and Comic Skates and all this sort of stuff. And they're just like, Doug, if you work with Timothy Lim on Demon's Match, you're going to lose out on $40,000. Ethan, Uncle E could bring you $40,000, and you're not going to get that $40,000 if you work with Timothy Lim. I was like, I literally don't care. I care about the story. I care about the characters. I care about putting out a good book, a solid book. And over time, that's the other thing. I always said my success is in God's hands. It's not in Uncle E's hands. Uncle E has no bearing on my success whatsoever. He can say whatever he wants. All these people, the mortgage people, the angel investor people, they're annoying, and I like to spotlight it so you can see what's really going on, and we can all examine the psychology around people that project their envy and their insecurities and their inner hatreds and their self-hatreds onto other people. I do like examining and turning over the psychology of envious men, but ultimately my success is in God's hands. If I am doing God's will, and I am properly discerning God's will, and I am trying my best to go down the narrow path that God has set for me, then all of these other people, they're just little mosquitoes along the path. You just kind of like, maybe you swat them away or whatever, or just look at them at your arm and just flick them off or whatever. But that's what they are, essentially. So, Tagia, did Rainbow the Brood ever come out? Not that I know of. I think it's been 5 years, maybe 6 years. I don't know. Mr. RPX, the irony is everyone who backed Ethan are falling off while everyone that focused on their work are now shining. I mean, I was telling somebody who was talking to me about that, was it yesterday? That content ultimately wins out in the long run. People can say whatever they want about you, but they can't argue with the content. If you've put out 11 issues of Common America, if you put out 11 issues of Black Ops, and they're solid books, if you've put out 4 issues of Soul Finder and 2 short stories, you're working on the 5th one, getting it out right now. All the art is done. The script for Soul Finder Volume 6, for all intents and purposes, is done. The content is what will last over time. Again, a lot of these guys, they delete their YouTube videos. They delete entire libraries. All the stupid things that they say, ultimately, it means nothing. It goes away. It's mildly irritating in the moment. And sometimes it's okay to vent about it. But ultimately, the more time that they talk and talk and talk and talk, it's just, time is a very valuable asset. It is a priceless asset. Every second of your life is far more valuable than most people realize. So the more that you are focused on trying to tear other people down, you're only hurting yourself. It's very bizarre. And I say this with these people, I don't harbor any sort of bizarro hatred to them. I'm just often very perplexed and confused and baffled by their behavior. How someone could be an adult and not understand that they are essentially shooting themselves in the foot, or shooting themselves in the face, or shooting themselves in the gut. Like, how do you not understand that you are actually hurting yourself? You're not hurting the other person. You're not hurting Wes. You're not hurting Eric July. You're just, again, you come across as a meth head in a cardboard box on the side of the road that is ranting about somebody. It's not doing anything to fix your problems. All it is doing is giving you the false, an illusion that you're spending your time wisely, but you're not. You're squandering your time. And I've said before, I had the best long-term interest in a lot of these guys, and it was just bashing your head up against the wall, because you can give someone really good advice, but if they don't want to face their inner demons or shadows, the Jungian shadows, or whatever you want to call it, they're just going to keep doing what they want. And actually, with a lot of these guys, here's another little thing. I haven't talked about this on X at all. A lot of these guys need help. They think they want to portray that they're experts at everything under the sun, but they're not, and they need a certain amount of help. And if somebody is drowning and you throw them a life preserver, or you pull them out of the ocean to safety, a lot of times people become really resentful of you because they don't want to admit that they didn't know how to swim, or they don't want to admit that they needed somebody to help them out of the water to keep them from drowning. And so the person who helped them, who dragged them to dry land or whatever it is, if that person wanted to believe deeply that they could do it all on their own and they didn't need any help, when you actually help someone who has those issues in their head, they will come to resent you. And so again, look at Richard. Look at all of the people that he's zeroed in on that he really doesn't like and he goes after. He goes after people that again and again had his back, wanted the best for him, didn't go after him, didn't try and kneecap him. And if anything, promoted him, promoted his channel, promoted his books, promoted his campaigns. And I just think that, again, he can't accept the culpability that he bears for his own multiple failures over the course of years. And so what does he do? He's going after the people that tried to throw him lifelines, the people that tried to help him, the people that tried to give him good advice. But he also goes after people who don't smack back at him, who don't punch him back in the teeth, like Wes. Notice Wes and Eric July never say anything about that guy. And he keeps going after him and after him. And he keeps needling him. Gary and all these other guys, they just ignore him. And so he knows that he's got an easy target. Actually, here's another thing. Is a while back, I saw Richard say that we need to bring bullying back for conservatives. Again, no different than Mark Wade, Mags Visaggio, Heather Antos, all those. He admitted, if he didn't delete it already, he admitted deep down he wants to be a bully. So that's why he goes after people that don't fight back, because that's what bullies do. And that's why he makes sure to excise anyone from his comments section who actually disagrees with him, because he doesn't like people that punch back. He only likes to do what bullies do, which is to go after people that are just take it and take it, and take it and take it. So again, you could, when you look at that guy and you look at what he does, you can see, and I am glad that the same person that I experienced behind the scenes years ago, all of these things that have come to the surface, these are all the red flags that I saw behind the scenes years ago. So where he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, he doesn't like to be corrected. If you do correct him, he gets really, really bent out of shape about it. He can barely kind of control his contempt for people that are telling him that he's doing something wrong. He does not take advice very well. He only likes to look at his endless spreadsheets. Again, convincing himself that he's actually spending his time wisely, but he's really not. Do you really need to go through the data of 10,000 spreadsheets of everybody else's campaigns under the sun? Or are you just wasting your time? Are you just lying to yourself again? He's lying to himself all the time. And I tried to tell him this sort of stuff years ago. But again, beating yourself up against the wall. At some point in time, you got to walk away from people like that, because they're going to do what they're going to do. And he did. And now he made his bed. Now he gets to sleep in it. But again, he's sitting in his bed. It's all messed up. And what's he do? Instead of making his bed, cleaning his room, he's ranting and raving about other people. So, in their house. Interesting. No different than Vaughn, no different than Matt, no different than Uncle Lee. Always focused on trying to tear other people down so they can appear taller. You want somebody else to look small so you could look taller. It's embarrassing. So anyway, let's see what else we got here. Japanese Soul Finder. Again, as I was saying earlier, it is my understanding, based on the email that I received yesterday, that they are printed and that they are on the way, and I should get a tracking number in the near future. Please, God, let them be without any sort of errors. I do not want to print these again. So, ouch. Paul says, Doug used to be a huge supporter of Zach. It seemed like Zach really messed up. You know what, Paul? Again, I tried so hard. I tried so hard to give that guy the best advice I could, and I really cared about his long-term interests. And I have shut up. I have not said anything on my, like, there's been so many times I have seen him take the cheapest shots at Wes, going after Eric July again and again and again, and going after conservatives. And again, saying that conservatives should be bullied, saying that conservatives should be ousted from all of the arts and all of that sort of stuff, where he is no different than Mark Wade. I mean, I've zipped it for a long time on this guy, and I have tried so hard. I'm like, this guy, man, if this was years ago and I was a different person, if I was not doing Soul Finder books, I would do a documentary on this guy myself, and I would expose all of this stuff. I would have an hour-long documentary on Richard, and I would show all the things that he said back in the day. I would find them on the internet, and I would juxtapose them with what he said about West today. And so everybody can see. And I know he likes Just Some Guy. I would do and Just Some Guy has done like little mini docs on people before, documentaries. I would do a Just Some Guy level documentary on Richard and how he has completely flipped 180 degrees on what he used to. He couldn't just walk away. He couldn't just shut up. He couldn't just leave people alone who never said a bad word about him. And again, Wes, even after months, weeks and months of him going after Wes turned the other cheek. and said, you know what? Cut the guy some slack. He's a war veteran. He's got all sorts, who knows what's going on in his head. I don't want to mess with him. He's got all sorts of stuff on his plate. Leave him alone and let him be. I mean, come on now. Any normal person would see how Wes responded to Richard's relentless cheap shots, straw man arguments, and be like, you know what? I don't need to mess with this guy. I'm just going to leave him be. Like, I said my piece. When have you said your piece? Is it after like 6 months? Is it after 10 months? Is Wes such an evil villain that you need to follow him around the internet for the rest of his life? I mean, again, lying to himself. He's just, he wants to pretend. Actually, speaking of Soul Finder, back in the day, initially Father Redder lets out all of his rage on the demons, and he lets loose with a saw. And when he does that, when he acts out of rage, the bullets come right back at him and actually rip through his own body, the spiritual bullets. This is actually the mistake that Richard C. Meyer is making right now. He is, all of his venom and all of his rage, he is letting it out on people that tried to help him. And all it's doing is hurting himself. This scene right here, I wish I couldn't have planned this any better. This is exactly what Richard is doing to himself, and he doesn't even realize it. And I don't know if Richard's father is alive or not, but Richard needs a father figure in his life to come to him right now and let him know that he's only hurting himself. He's only hurting himself psychologically, mentally, and spiritually, and probably physically, because this sort of stuff takes a toll on your physical body as well. So Richard, if you're out there, you are actually making the exact same mistake that Father Patrick Redder made in Soul Finder Demons Match back in the day. You don't want to just let loose with all your rage on people, because it's just going to boomerang back on you and hurt you and leave you in the dust wondering what the heck is going on. But I digress. All right, Paul, man, for Zach to now be at the level of Mark Waid would have been inconceivable back in 2018. Again, you can't, if you look at his feeds and you compare them to Mark Waid, they are no different. They are essentially exactly the same. And it's surreal and it's bizarre. And as I've said multiple times, it's just sad. Let's see. Mr. Hovac, thanks again. Just some guy went far left. Yeah, I mean, he was just some guy was always like liberal, essentially, but he didn't like quote unquote SJWs. But actually, speaking of just some guy here, I was talking to someone about this. Just some guy who, to his credit, he did actually give a very good review to Soul Finder Demons Match. But at some point in time, he just started going off on Catholics like again and again and again and again. Like his feed was just this, like he would like always go off and say the most ridiculous things about Catholics. But this is a guy who had instant access to me and actually Timothy Lim back in the day. If he actually cared about learning what Catholics actually believed, as opposed to what like he's been led to believe, he could have asked me questions at any point in time. And he never did it. Never. Not one time. It always irritates me. There are people that follow me and they won't say anything to me personally. And sometimes they'll say really nice things to me, like, behind the scenes even. But then publicly, every once in a while, I'll see their feed and they'll say the most vile, disgusting things about Catholics. And I'm just like, it's very interesting that you could ask me any question that you want, but you don't. Because I think it's like deep down, they know that all of their weirdo caricatures about Catholics, they would have to like come to terms with the fact that the things that they have been led to believe are actually not true, or distortions, or you've been led to believe like some sort of like cartoonish version of Catholicism that isn't really it. And if you actually talk to me like an adult, and you understood, like if you talk to a rational person who held my beliefs on things, it would alter you in ways where you could not continue to behave in the way that you're behaving. So it always kind of irritated me that just some guy would say very nice things to me. He would sometimes DM me. He would say very nice things to me. And then he would turn around and immediately just say the nastiest things about Catholics. And it was just like, okay. And I never clapped back at him. I never took cheap shots at that guy. Never did anything. I know Tim's never did that either. And I just know that I would feel really awkward coming to somebody and smiling to their face and saying something like nice to them, and then know that is like at the root of that is a core piece of their identity, and then immediately go into my Twitter feed and then just like slime, like totally generalize about billions like of people. And it was just like very strange to me. And actually, speaking of Richard, while we're on the topic of Richard, I don't care. I'll just say all of this right now. I was telling someone else recently, Richard is a lapsed Catholic as well. If you were born into the Catholic Church in America in like the 1970s, again, this is from my point of view. I know not all of you are Catholic here, but you got to understand that God blessed you in insane ways. Basically, in the race of life, if you were born into the Catholic Church in America, a peaceful town in the 1970s and all this sort of stuff, and you leave the faith and you just become like an atheist or whatever, you were like 10 yards away from the finish line and you threw it all away. I look at it like, if I screw up my life, it would be like God placed me 10 yards before the finish line. All I had to do was shuffle my feet and I would fall into heaven. If I screw it up, if I die in a state of mortal sin, I will feel like the biggest loser on the face of the earth for eternity. And so it is actually really painful to me to see someone that was born into the church, was an altar boy, if my memory serves me correctly, and then he just became this bitter, bizarro, left-wing atheist. But there's still time, Richard. Look into your heart. Look into your soul. Because I don't want for eternity for you to actually feel like I would. Again, if I die in a state of mortal sin, for all eternity, I will just be racking my brain and feel like the biggest absolute loser. You ever see that Weird Al song, I Lost on Jeopardy? Baby. Ooh. You're a complete loser. If you never heard that Weird Al song, check it out. But that's exactly how I would feel if I die in a state of mortal sin. Please, God, please give me the grace of final perseverance. Paul, what? I never knew that about Richard, but to be fair, I really don't recall him talk about religion much. No, he never really talked too much about it, but here or there, I think he said he was an altar boy when he was a young man. And from what I gather now, it seems like he's an atheist. So, which might be why he also gravitated towards just some guy, liberal atheists. So, yeah, who knows? Let's see, Alex, I don't get caught up too much at all in denominations as long as they bring people to Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. Yeah, I mean, Jesus is the key, brother. So I mean, here's how I'll say this. Anybody, if you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, died on the cross for your sins with his precious blood, and you actively are looking for the truth. Again, circling back, the good, the true, and the beautiful. If you go after Christ with all of your heart and all of your mind and all of your soul, I mean, Christ is if you try and meet Christ halfway, there's a high probability that it'll end well for you. So, but I mean, again, but if you throw it all away and you just say, you know what, I'm an atheist, and I have atheists in my own family. So this is not just a Richard thing. I have relatives who were born into the church and abandoned the church. And I pray for those relatives every single night. If you're listening, dear loved one, relative, I pray for you every single night. I really do. So yeah, I'm gonna get myself all emotional here talking about my relatives. But yeah, anyway, I guess that's about it on my end. Long story short, thank you to everyone that's tuned in, followed Iconic Comics for many, many years now. There's still time if you want to go to Japan. Go to Tokyo for Japan Comic Art Expo Winter 2025. I'll be there with Timothy Lim and Mark Pellegrini of Common America and Black Ops. Let's go. We got the Indiegogo campaign, and we got the Common America Volume 11 Black Ops 7 Kickstarter campaign as well. Congratulations, guys. Anyway, how long have we been talking for? An hour and a half. So, yeah, it's been 2 months. I probably should have gave you 2 hours. But unless there's anything on somebody's minds, I'll probably, we're talking about Weird Al, talked about all sorts of stuff here. I think I'll let you go for now. I'll try not to have another 2-month delay. If I don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, have a happy Thanksgiving. I will actually be in Japan over Thanksgiving and then into December. So, but I'll try probably before I leave to get back. If I don't talk to you, have a happy Thanksgiving. If I see you in Tokyo, if you're from the United States and I see you in Tokyo, I'm going to buy you dinner. Dinner's on me. Maybe lunch somewhere. I'll have a Doug prize for you. If you show up from Alex, where are you? You know, Alex, I know you want to fly to Tokyo, man. No, I know that's short notice, but that would be cool. Stephen Cummings is going to be there as well. Did some awesome Soul Finder work for me not too long ago. And I tried to get it colored. I don't want to bust out a colorist, but there was a colorist who asked me for work. And this was in I don't even know, April. And this particular colorist came to me asking for work. I gave him Stephen Cummings stuff, and it's still not done. In fact, I don't know if it'll ever be done. So if you want to know why I'm very slow to work with certain individuals, especially if they're new, it's because there are people that come to me and they ask me for work, and then I try and give them something small to work on, and then they just ghost me and they don't literally don't do the work. And then I'm like, hey, what's going on? And then they don't answer me. And then they don't answer me. And then I look into their feed and they're like, my commissions are open. I'm taking commissions. I was like, oh yeah, really? Because you never answered. You came to me for work and you didn't do my pieces for Stephen Cummings. And now you're not answering my DMs. So what's going on? Are you going to just wait 3 years and then randomly drop colored pieces in my lap? And then I'm going to have to be, then if I didn't pay you, then you would be like, Doug Ernst didn't pay me, blah, 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 or something along those lines. So I'm probably just going to find another colorist to do Stephen Cummings work. If you're the colorist that reached out to me in April of last year, asking me for work, and I gave it to you, and you just screwed me over on the pieces, you know what? I'm just going to find somebody else to do the pieces now. And if you want to know why I don't branch out and just give new people work, it's because of people like you. And even though you screwed me over, and even though you're treating me like crap, I'm still not calling you out by name, and I still didn't jump your DMs so the entire world can see the kind of person you are. I had half a mind to go into your little post where you were talking about your commissions and you're looking for work from people, and just post all of our DMs where you're apologizing for not doing the work and saying you're going to get it done, and then you don't do the work, and then I circle back and I ask you what's going on. Can you just give me a straight answer, yes or no? I don't want to be billed for this. after the fact if I get somebody else to color it, not answering me. So now you get like one little piece more of the kind of people that you get to deal with when you're trying to like actually like make comics. So thank you. Thank the Lord for Rodrigo Aviles, because he actually does a great job with color work. He's great at communication. When I email him, he emails me back, all that sort of stuff. Thank God for Timothy Lim, Matt Weldon, Eric Canetti, Bill Williams, and everybody else at Iconic Comics who has actually done the things that they said they were going to do when they were going to do them. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you for showing up to this live stream today, interacting with me, asking me good questions, making interesting observations. Richard, if you're paying attention, again, this was all from my heart. I actually care about your long-term interests. You probably should return to the truth. You probably should return to the church and Jesus Christ. And you should probably stop focusing on Eric Canetti and Wes from Thinking Critical. And you should probably get your own house in order. Get your ark in order, Richard. Stop focusing on other people because you're making a fool out of yourself. And I don't want you to die a fool, an atheist, liberal fool. Don't do that, Richard. Return to Christ. Return to the sacraments, Richard. Alex says, that would be a blast, but I have to stick to Belcon Comic-Con for the next year due to time constraints. Eric July, you mean? Did I say something? Yeah, Eric July. Eric July. I don't have any problems with Eric July. Richard, stop talking about Eric July. Stop talking about Wes from Thinking Critical. And if anybody tries to weirdly clip things when I made a mistake as I was talking off the cuff, I apologize. Call him out. Let him know that I didn't mean anything against Eric July. If I said the wrong thing, I apologize. Eric July, check out the Rippaverse. Check out Iconic Comics. Check out creators that don't spend days and weeks and months and years going after people and tearing them down and trying to make them look smaller so they could look taller. Woo! All right, guys, I'll see you later. Thanks again for everything. You rock. And yeah, see ya.